We're now about to go live in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now live.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:01. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I am your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in the studio this morning on this chilly October 16th
Welcome
morning.
to fall.
I know it is. I feel like it happened overnight. I mean, I feel like because I think we had an unusually warm, sort of September into earlier October. And suddenly, it's like 44 degrees out there. And it's really dark.
Is the acorns are enormous this year. That means we're going to have a cold, cold winter.
Is that what that means?
Yeah.
That's the heads up on that.
The trees know
who needs a meteorologist when you've got,
The trees know what's
acorns.
going on, man. The acorns, the squirrels were like, the
squirrels are going nuts
Christy's yard, they're busily preparing for winter.
Yeah. And they have
like
been.
A heavy duty winter.
Yeah, they have been for a while. I live with a 14-month-old, so we're fascinated with nature and animals. We have a lot of squirrels in our yard and in our neighborhood. And they have been absolutely going to town with, the Eghorns and the nuts and storage, and I didn't really think that much of it, but yeah, they must be definitely preparing for a severe winter.
Absolutely, they are.
Well, hopefully, fingers crossed. I'm really kind of hoping that we get a little bit of snow this year because for Christmas 2 years ago, I think Gary got me snowshoes because I've been wanting.
You may get your wish.
I've been wanting to learn. I've just been wanting to try snowshoeing, and Gary has a pair, but we have yet to use them. We haven't. We've barely had like a dusting.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll get a little bit this year.
Yeah.
And then we'll get.
You're gonna get your wish. I think you're gonna get your wish in spades.
Yeah, I'm okay. Well, I don't need an enormous amount, but enough to kind of make it interesting. And then we can get Harry Rock back on here to talk about snowshoeing and cross-country skiing and all the winter stuff. We had him talk about all the warm weather stuff. We'll have him talk about the winter stuff. And speaking of Harry Rock and speaking of snowshoeing, I'm gonna right out of the gate. Today is October 16th. It's National Sports Day. So National Sports Day is a celebration that transcends the boundaries of the sports field, emphasizing the vital role that sports play in society. This day is a testament to the impact sports have in promoting health, fitness, and community spirit. October is an optimal month for celebrating National Sports Day. On October 16th, fans, families, and athletes from various sports gather to enjoy their cherished athletic events. Competitors of all ages and experience levels, thank you, Pete, from beginners to seasoned professionals, participate in the festivities. The agony of defeat.
And the agony of defeat.
I couldn't include it without the.
I love that.
Without the voiceover.
I know, that was great. What was the show, Pete?
ABC. Well, here, I'll let him say it.
This is ABC's Wide World of Sports.
Thank you. That's what it is. Because I'm thinking to myself, I knew. I mean, right away. It's like the.
I mean, I could have just run with this part, but it's much more effective with the voiceover.
Yeah. And especially the agony of defeat. I do remember that.
Gotta give some shout out to Jim McKay.
Absolutely.
I think it's Jim McKay. Yeah,
I think it was Jim McKay too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, he was around forever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Wally Rocks actually established National Sports Day in 2019 to honor athletes, families, and sports enthusiasts. The day highlights the advantages of competitive sports. When young people engage in competitive play, they enhance their skills and develop positive habits that they carry into adulthood. Supportive family members foster a strong connection, strengthening both the family unit and communities nationwide. National Sports Day underscores the importance of sports in promoting health and fitness. Regular participation in sports enhances physical well-being and mental resilience. Furthermore, it fosters social integration and builds a sense of community. This day also serves to recognize and celebrate the achievements of athletes, honoring their dedication. Engaging in National Sports Day can be both fulfilling and fun. Individuals and communities are encouraged to organize sports events such as friendly matches or fitness challenges. Schools and organizations can host workshops and competitions to promote sportsmanship. Beyond the day itself, adopting a lifestyle that includes regular sports and fitness activities can lead to long-term health benefits and community bonding. National Sports Day is more than a celebration. It is a call to action to embrace sports as a vital part of life, enhancing unity, health, and resilience. By participating in the diverse activities it offers, we not only honor the legacy of sports icons, but also contribute to a healthier, more connected society. I had to do National Sports Day because we're a huge sports family. We love sports in our family. We've already taught Charlie how to do the touchdown signal, so she's now doing this every time something great happens. And now it's kind of like either on or off. It doesn't matter whether we actually have any sports things on, but if something really great happens, she'll signal like the touchdown. We were watching the baseball the other night because Gary's been a Mets fan ever since he was a little kid, and they're having a great year. So they won their division or whatever they did, and so so we were all clapping and yay, we're all excited, and Charlie's giving the old touchdown signal, and Gary said, yeah, that's good enough, okay, touchdown for baseball, we're good with that.
As far as she's concerned, that's a touchdown.
Exactly, that's all that works. So speaking of Charlie, so Grace and I took Charlie this weekend to the whimsical fairy walk at Stanley Park. Remember we had Vicky and Nikki, the Vicky and Nikki show on.
Yep, sure.
Last month we were talking about Run Stanley, but we were also talking about the whimsical fairy walk, which is one of their final, kind of big event things that they're doing at the park.
Yeah, before they close for the season.
Yeah, before they close for the season. Yep,
sort
exactly.
of close.
Yeah, they don't close ever, quite fully, but anyway, they wind down their special events. And anyway, it was really a lot of fun. It was lovely, and Charlie was, as Grace said, I mean, the houses were like her size because they were like these little tiny, little fairy homes, and some of them were just really fantastic, and people were really creative, and Charlie was in her stroller, so she's kind of low to the ground, so she could see all this. And then, some of the little kids that were there with their moms and dads and grandparents, like one little girl, Grace just wanted to follow her around because she had dressed with fairy wings, and she had this really pretty wreath with, ribbons that hung down the back. And I think Grace was more enamored. So wherever she wanted to look at fairy homes, that's what Charlie wanted to do as well. So
that's fun.
We had a lot of fun, and just kudos to Stanley Park. They do a great job. And then after that, of course, we went down to the duck pond because you can't go to Stanley Park with a 14-month-old without visiting the ducks and looking at the little fishies in the water there. So we had a great time, and thank you to Barbara Martone, because Barbara Martone had given Grace and Charlie a container of duck food, because you're not supposed to feed them bread, and they actually have, food that you can purchase. And Barbara's at Stanley Park so often that instead of getting, like they have a little machine there. You pay a quarter and you get a handful of food. Well, Barbara gets, she goes to Westfield Feed and she gets, like a 50-pound bag that she keeps in her car because she can't lift it, of course.
Okay.
So anyway, she gave us a container. So thank you to Barbara for doing that, because we had a lot of fun feeding the ducks and looking at the fish and the other kids. So good day at Stanley Park. Yeah.
There you go.
And so, Pete, what did you do this weekend? Anything fun and interesting? You and Christy? Did you work? Were you up at Mount Holyoke at all?
Yeah, I was at Mount Holyoke both days. And then Sunday... What was it, Sunday night?
Yeah, we had a long weekend, too. I can't even remember this,
It's Oh, no, Sunday I ended
it's a blur.
The guy called out for the overnight, so I had to stay till like 7 o'clock. I was supposed to go to my brother's for football, but the guy from second shift went to third shift, and then my boss, who's still recovering from COVID and everything, he had to come in for a couple hours because I stayed till 7. So it was kind of like we're shuffling the deck to make sure everything got covered. But
yes.
Yeah, I think I did something on Saturday, but this week has been my brain was drained yesterday.
Yeah.
Because we're trying to figure out stuff.
Pete.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out stuff because Mark had suggested that we could do the Berkshire Theatre Critics Awards show.
Yes, he sent out a press release about that to all the...
Right, yeah. Originally it was, we can do it if all else fails, we can do it. And then it became, we never asked Pittsfield Community Television, so we're going to do it. Ooh. And then I was like, I have no idea what I'm getting into. I don't know if I can do it. Mm-hmm. And then it was going up there and saying, all right, we can do it.
Okay. So you went up and you scoped it out.
We had to. Yesterday. There's no way I was going into that blind.
No, absolutely
because
not.
There's a limited amount of stuff I can carry in my car. And I need to know exactly what to carry because I can't bring the whole shop up there.
Right, exactly.
On the way back from that, we got a notification from the superintendent that the governor was coming to make a major press conference announcement at the high school at noon.
Okay.
And can we cover that live?
Yeah.
And I went, I got to think about that. Also, the FAA is coming to the Westfield Technical Academy hangar on Thursday to present the program with their certificate to start teaching the power plant section so they can teach engine repair.
Okay.
Which was a major milestone for the program. They had airframe up till now, but now it's airframe and power plant.
Okay.
And the FAA, I believe the FAA administrator is coming to give the award of the program that they're certified to do it. So that also became, that's happening at 9:00 on Thursday morning. And can we do the show up there?
Oh my gosh.
I was like,
Pete.
Hey, Kenny, what are you doing this week?
Yeah, really.
And originally today we were supposed to, after everything Southwick, we had signed up for WB Mason as a big trade show down in Mohegan Sun today. Mm-hmm. And we're going to go down there and look at new chairs for the studio and get that kind of ready to go and see what, stuff like that.
Yep.
And that got scuttled.
Yeah.
I was
well, you know what, Pete? I mean, I don't know. I'm finding the same thing. Like, you would think, because I'm no longer executive director, that, I'm just easing up. My plate is a platter. It is just so full. And it's just kind of what you said, too. Like, things keep popping up. And it's like, okay. And some of these things are time sensitive. I mean, in your case, the governor's coming today. I mean, it's not like, well,
right. And usually
I'll put this off until next week. Well, you can't. She's here today, so,
Well, not only that, but if we had more heads up on it, I could have planned something and left something up there and let the students operate it and still do what I got to do.
Yep.
That, if we have proper planning, we could do just about anything with anybody.
Yep.
But
I know.
When you're throwing it together at the last minute, then now you're like, you have to be here to supervise it because if something does go wrong and you can't test it in the field.
Yeah.
Like, if I had prior notice, I would have set this up yesterday.
Yes, of course.
I would have tested it yesterday.
Yes.
And I would have said, okay, I feel confident that they can run this and go from there.
Yep. I totally get it.
None of that is possible.
Right. And you know what? And unfortunately, a lot of, I think, what we do is like that. You just keep getting these curveballs thrown. And it's like you come in, you and I are planners. We have our agenda set. Like I got my agenda set, for the day, the week, or whatever. But that's really hard when, people throw curveballs.
And the thing is, we can accommodate most requests. But I'm getting to the point where I'm like, Mark had some great ideas, and I had to say, like, no, I'm kind of at my physical limits right now.
Yes.
Like, I need to have some time to do paperwork and things like that I have to do.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm like, it's great that you want to expand the programming. I get it. I'm 100% for it.
Yep.
But I'm like, I'm at my physical limits.
Yeah.
So, hopefully I can get funding for a second position. So
I know, that would be great.
They could take some of that load. Like, I'd love to have a noon to 8 person.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That would be great.
Yeah.
So we'll see if we can make that happen for the next budget cycle. That would be, really great.
Yeah. I'd be so thrilled about that.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see. I mean, right now I'm pushing Kenny as a part-timer pretty hard, but the work is there.
Yeah. And we're lucky, we're so lucky that we have Ken. I mean, he's been around for a long time. So he knows you, he knows what needs to be done. He knows all the players, and there's a lot to be said for that. And that's hard for any new person coming into any situation. You just don't know the people yet, or you don't know who to contact for help. And it's funny because Mike Squindo, the director of the COA, is, believe it or not, is celebrating his 1-year anniversary with us.
Yes, I think it was coming up soon.
Yeah, and I mean, he started last October, and it's really hard to believe that. But so much of what we're still in that place where I'm saying, oh, well, call so and so for that, and he's like, well, who's so and so? I don't know that person, or oh, well, we're just going to reach out to this person or that person. And it's funny when you've been in a place for a long time. I mean, you've been here for years. I've been here for years. And it's second nature. But I remember when I first came to Westfield, when I first started, I didn't know who any of these people were either. People would say, oh, call so-and-so. I'm like, well, who's so-and-so?
I think I've seen more people go than I've seen.
Probably.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, oh, yeah. Yep, I agree. All right, Pete. Well, you know what? It is that time, and the good doctor's waiting. We have a show that is really I'm excited about today's show. It's packed with information. It is, we have Dr. Akinyele Lovelace joining us first hour. We like to refer to him as our resident primary care physician, like we own him here at the station. And we are going to be talking, the topic today is shingles. And I texted Dr. Lovelace last week and I said, I really want to do this as a topic and I have about 1 million questions. And so I do. So I started spelling them all out. But especially for those of you who are older, but shingles happen in young people as well. So we're going to talk.
By the way, if you want to blow through your breaks today, I have no problem with that because it's a big topic.
Yeah, it is a big topic. But you know what, Pete, first of all,
giving you that heads
Thank you. But my breaks are really short. The songs that I've chosen, carefully chosen, they're hysterical. But they're short. They're less than 2 minutes each. So it'll give us a nice, kind of time to regroup.
All right.
So without further ado, we're going to bring Dr. Akinyele Lovelace in with his own song, Call the Doctor, by his father-in-law, Diamond Temple. You are listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. We'll be back in just a minute.
Got this monkey on my back, got like nipping at my heels, turning on my wheels. What's this pain in my chest? No, I really don't want to gas. Appointment overdue. See, you ain't paid Holland when I woke up yesterday, and I can't remember if I took my meds today. It's alright, I won't remember anyway. Rock it like a two-step, then call the doctor.
Underwriting for Community Radio on WSKB is brought to you in part by Rockies. Over 30 convenient locations throughout Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Connecticut, and Florida. One of the nation's largest ACE dealers. Expertise and great product selection in paint, hardware, lawn and garden. That's Rockies. Rock solid service since 1926. On the web at Rockies.com.
Listen to me, Michael Buster McMahon, Mondays 8 to 10 a.m. to learn the stories behind your favorite songs. Or don't. I'm not the boss of you.
Community Radio
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 at 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:19. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, Pete Coles, of course, behind the glass. Good morning again, Pete, if you're
Good
still
morning.
there. You are. And Dr. Akinyele Lovelace with Family Medicine Associates. Good morning. So Dr. Lovelace is...
I don't know what this red button is under the table, though.
Yeah, Pete, what is that?
Pete, what is the red...
Akinyele just noticed this red button underneath the table. Of course, I'm not on that side of the table.
That's a cough switch.
A cough switch?
So if you press it, your mic momentarily goes off.
Yes.
Oh, there you go.
That is fantastic.
Okay. I don't think I have one on my side.
Yes, you do.
Oh, I do?
To your right, yep.
To my right? Oh, yes.
If you push it and talk, you will hear nothing come out.
Okay. Good to know. A cough button. Okay.
I love that.
With winter approaching, that's good to know.
Yes.
So before we dive into our topic, Doctor, Lovelace, which is shingles today. So how's everything going in your world? It is fall now. Pete and I have said it's officially, it's dark and it's cold out there.
I'm so glad you asked. We are getting ready for the Noble Ball. I hope you're able to attend.
You know what?
Please don't tell me no. Please, I'm going to hit the red button on you if you give me any other option. But Dr. Lovelace, I look forward to attending. I can't wait. It's going to be a fantastic event. And so, yes, what is happening in my life? My life is making sure that we're getting the support out there for showing that we support our local community hospital, because if we're not out there, if we're not contributing, if we're not putting our best foot forward, these type of opportunities to continue to raise funds for our community hospital may disappear. You know, we're not disguising the kind of financial hardship that Bay State Health itself is facing, and that also includes this includes Noble, and it includes the things that we need in order to thrive as a community. And so, once again, as the person who is the chair this year,
you and Christina, right,
of the Noble Ball, and this will be my last opportunity to speak on the radio and on cable to once again emphasize how important participating in this type of community event can be for our hospital. Because we need this hospital to continue to thrive, and there are certain aspects of the hospital that we know need improvement. And if we're trying to continue to move forward and deliver quality health care at home and locally, it's really important to get the word out. So that's what Dr. Lovelace has been talking about.
That's what you're doing.
About all these
and I do, and I'm going to tell you right now, this is not the year that we're going to be able to attend. However, I know that in the past there have been lots of opportunities to help support this event.
Absolutely.
Because I believe now the auction is online.
That is correct.
And also, of course, donations are always welcome. Or you can purchase the tickets, give them to someone else if that doesn't work for you, and
I love that
have somebody else that's a nice gift for somebody.
I think it's a great idea.
And just give us a date. I know it's coming up in early November.
It is the first Saturday of November, November 2nd.
Yep, at down in Springfield.
It is at the MGM.
Right. Exactly.
No, I'm sorry. Mass Mutual Center.
Mass Mutual Center. Yep, exactly.
I kind of put them all together in my mind now, but yes, Mass Mutual Center.
I was going to say MGM's not big enough to contain that ball.
You know what though? Listen, guys, I think it'd be a fun idea.
I do too. And what isn't the theme this year of this one? It's off to the races. It's off to the races, right?
The races.
So I mean, I am well schooled in what's going on, even though I'm not going to be able to make it.
Yes. So bring your. She's got to hit the red button.
I do.
We've just had this conversation, and she's annoying the red button.
Lord. You got to get used to the red button.
I'm not used to the red button.
She's got to get used to the red button.
The shiny red button.
I know. Don't do it. But you have to do it, right? So yes, it's off to the races. Where the approach is we're trying not to make it so formal, right? To make it feel like something like as if you're going to the Kentucky Derby, or if you're actually going to going to Saratoga, right? So, or Belmont, right? So that's kind of the approach this year. And we're even looking forward to kind of mixing up even kind of the performances that occurred during the course of the night to kind of give some more variability here for having fun. So I look forward to seeing all the faces that can attend and that will attend or that will donate. I think that's extremely important. So that is what I'm looking for.
There are lots of ways to support.
Absolutely.
And by the way, if I were going, since it's off to the races, you'd have to have a hat.
Yeah,
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, women, you got take out your hat. You got to get a hat.
That is the idea.
All right. So lots going on. And yes, as you said, Dr. Lovelace, we have a lot of needs at Bay State Noble Hospital. We know that. So those financial assistance is really needed. It's necessary.
And Bay State, and let's not be remiss that Bay State Noble is doing an excellent job. When you look at the track record, when you look at the grades for quality that's been going on for Bay State Noble specifically, Bay State Noble is getting an A, everybody. So Bay State Noble is doing wonderful work in a lot of different areas, and I think it'd be remiss for me not to mention that. I understand that there's some other areas of concern within the system, but Bay State Noble has been doing an excellent job with the hand it's been dealt and the amount of people that come through its emergency room. And the amount of people they treat and see is phenomenal, considering the size of the actual emergency room that they have. we are one of the most busiest emergency rooms in all of the state, and we have one of the smallest emergency rooms in the entire state. Yeah. So just to be clear, like they're doing a lot with what they have, and I want to continue to support that and bring more awareness to it and encourage everyone to contribute any way they possibly can to support them.
Absolutely. Lots of ways for us to help and assist and be supportive. All right. So the topic of the day is shingles. And, partly because I don't know a lot about it, partly because I'm seeing a lot of cases among our older adults that frequent the senior center, partly because we're seeing more commercials, I think, on TV for encouraging people to get the vaccine. And I'm also hearing that both from my, friends, my seniors, and my relatives saying, get the vaccine. So let's talk about what it is. So let's start there. What causes shingles?
So shingles. What causes shingles? So I love to have this conversation because shingles is actually chicken pox that grew up, right? Okay. Like that's how we think about it, or that's how I kind of approach it. Shingles is your old chicken pox infection that you might have had when you were in your teens, right? And for a lot of adults who are, born, in the 1930s, 1940s, 1950s, up until about the 1980s, right?
Yeah.
We got chickenpox.
Yeah, we toughed it out.
We got chickenpox.
We suffered through.
We got chickenpox, and at times we even encouraged others to join in.
Yes, we did.
My friend Vinny down the street's got chickenpox.
Good, go play with Vinny.
Go play with Vinny, right? Or go bring him some soup. And you're like, why? And why are we all sitting in the same room together? And why is he itchy? And why is he scratchy? What's going on?
Why do I want that?
Why? But there was a purpose behind that, right? Because that then created. That was our herd immunity kind of concept, right? Or if you did get it, you got it. Everyone kind of got it at the same time, and we moved on.
Right.
All right. So what happens, or what is it? So that actual viral infection because that's what it is.
It's a viral infection.
Chickenpox is a type of it's a herpes infection. Actually, is what it is.
Okay.
And so this type of virus actually it never leaves your body. Similar to a cold sore. Right? The same kind of concept, the same kind of virus family. They kind of live in your they live in the nerves, or they end up kind of, once they become what's called dormant, they just kind of are part of you now. They
kind of hang out.
They're just there, right? And every now and then they think about coming back out to express themselves, but over the course of our lifetime, we are active, right? We are engaged with people. We are continuing to sometimes be exposed and we're not even aware, right? So as you continue to grow in your adult phase, maybe you have children. Maybe you have friends who have children. Maybe you're around different age groups of people. And so the possibility that either those younger people have been vaccinated, or maybe someone might have had it and didn't even know. You're getting exposed in small bits, and so your body's remembering it. They're saying, "Oh, that I remember the chicken pox. I'm not having that," right? And so that's kind of a thing. But as we get older, especially after 50, well, how often are we hanging out with a variety of different demographics or age populations of people? How often are we actually hanging out at a daycare center? How often are we actually seeing younger children? And once you get into your 50s, right, the kids are a little bit older, the people start looking a little bit older, and maybe you're just kind of in your job and you're in your space. And so what ends up happening is you have a different kind of routine about life, right? People always tend to say, it feels like time goes by so fast. But when I was in grade school, it seemed like time took forever. Well, It felt like that. It felt that way because you were constantly going through different changes and meeting new people, and it was challenging you to be around new things. But as we get a little bit older, we lose those challenges. Well, the same thing applies for our immune system. Our immune system stops really interacting with new things or new people, right? You weren't going from the third grade to the fourth grade. You're just kind of going to the same job, and you're looking forward to retirement in the next 15 to 10 or 5 to 7 kind of years. And so you're in the same space. And what am I getting at? What I'm getting at is the fact that your immune system also gets into a rhythm and it starts to forget things. And so it forgot what chicken pox looked like when you were 12. Well, it makes sense to me. I forgot what I might have looked like when I was 12, and I might need to be reminded. And if I never looked, how would I know? So what ends up happening is that as we get older, two things can occur, right? Number one, you might develop more chronic conditions. Mm-hmm. The second thing is your stress levels go up. I got taxes, I got bills, I got this, I got that, right? And so ultimately that changes your body's response to things that have already been laying dormant within it. And so when those stress levels occur, or if you get ill or sick, that chickenpox virus can reactivate and it can reoccur. It then reoccurs as what we call shingles.
Okay.
And that's what it is.
Wow. Okay. So I think the theory back in the day when I was, not only when I was a child, but when I was raising my daughter, who's now in her 30s, was that if you, one of the reasons that we said, oh, go play with Vinny has the chicken pox, is because let's get this over with and then we're done. And I think the thought was that, and in fact, it was my thought. It was like, okay, great. So now I don't have to worry about this, like forever and ever, amen. We're done.
You didn't have to worry about chicken pox. And you'd be better off getting chicken pox as a young child than as an adult. Because if you get chicken pox as an adult, you can get a really bad pneumonia and can make you very sick.
Okay. All right. Okay. But we still have shingles that we're trying to deal with.
But shingles is a little bit different, right?
Okay.
Because shingles can cause permanent damage.
Okay.
And so you don't necessarily want to encourage.
Right. Right. Yeah. Exactly.
That idea.
Now, let me ask you this, because I know this is one of the questions that I have. Are shingles contagious?
Yes. So they are contagious if you are close to the actual lesions on the body.
Okay.
Right. If they're open lesions.
Yep.
So wait, let's go back. Let's kind of describe what we're seeing here, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah. What are we seeing?
A lot of times, what is shingles? So shingles traditionally will be a line. It'll follow a tract along the body.
Okay.
That goes along a nerve pathway. Right?
Okay.
We'll just say that. And so it follows. It looks like it's almost following it like a path. Like the yellow brick road, right?
Yeah,
it just stays on the yellow brick road.
Okay.
And so what ends up happening is it becomes very painful. There are areas of redness, and then you start seeing what I would describe as blisters.
Yeah. Yep.
There'll be raised areas with look like there's fluid in them, right? Mm-hmm. And if you're actively making those little blisters on your skin and they open up, there's virus in there, right?
Okay.
And so you can, if you're close enough to that person, they can also develop shingles, right?
Okay.
So it's one of those things that we are very mindful of, and we try to ensure that there's no real close contact to those areas, because that part of it is contagious.
Okay. All right. Let's take a little bit of a break, and then I want to come back to that. I want to come back to that. First of all, where do you see the rash and so forth? So we're going to come back to that. But I believe it or not, I found songs about shingles.
I'm so amazed.
So the first one that we're going to do, it's called The Shingles Song. It's by the Toilet Bowl Cleaners. That's the name of the group. I am not making this up. You are listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. The topic is shingles. We're singing about shingles. We're listening to songs about shingles. We'll be back.
Yeah, the shingles. Yeah, the shingles. You've got the shingles all over your skin. It's the shingles. Yeah, the shingles. Just like chicken pox when you were a kid. Except it's worse. It's the shingles. And it hurts bad and looks very gross. Oh, the shingles. Ain't nothing worse than lots of shingles all over your skin. Oh, the shingles, so disgusting. Oh my goodness, it's so horrible. Oh, the shingles, yeah, the shingles, caused by the same thing that causes the chicken pox. But the chicken pox bothers children, and the shingles bothers adults. Oh, the shingles, so disgusting, growing all over your body. Those shingles, so painful, ain't nothing worse than a face full of shingles. But don't worry, your shingles will go away, yeah. Those shingles are not there for good. Wait it out a while, they're gonna go away. Then life can go on as normal.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 at 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:36. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host. Pete Coles is behind the glass, and Dr. Akinyele Lovelace with Family Medicine Associates is with me this morning. Our topic is shingles. So we've talked a little bit about what causes shingles. It is a virus. And we've talked a little bit about the path. I was always under the impression until several years ago when people schooled me on this that generally shingles were kind of around your midsection.
Oh, no.
But now I've had seniors that have had them in a variety of places. So let's talk about where are some of the more common areas that people...
It can happen anywhere. Well,
okay.
It can happen anywhere. That's the concern. It's majority of the time, it's usually around the midsections, around the torso, right? The concerns, though, are if it's on your face.
Yes, and I've
had
that.
The concerns are because, and I tell people, you can go blind, you can lose your hearing. It can also affect your brain, right? So because it just lives, we sometimes don't know where it decides to make a home in your body until it's actually active again.
Okay.
And so it can occur in a variety of different places. The majority of the people who do get it, you're correct. It usually occurs around their torso in some form or fashion. However, for some, if it occurs in the face, that's a really, really important thing.
Yeah.
Hit it. Hey. Ho. Fantastic. And so the key thing is to just keep in mind that it can occur anywhere.
Okay.
The type of what the rash looks like, though, is extremely important. And you'll start to know because it's going to be painful.
Yeah.
It's going to hurt. And it's usually just on one side of your body.
Oh, okay.
It's very rarely that it occurs on both the left and right side. If it's occurring on the left and right side, it's more than likely something different.
Okay.
But traditionally, it's going to occur on just one side of the body, either the left or the right side.
Okay.
And it's going to follow a path.
Okay.
Now, if it starts to look like it's going in a lot more places, that's actually an emergent. That's a very emergent. I would say emergent, but you definitely need to see your physician or your provider a little bit sooner, because if we're starting to see that the shingles is starting to spread all over the body, that warrants hospitalization.
Yeah. Wow. So what kind of determines, I mean, some people say that you were saying that sometimes the rash looks like blisters, but not everybody gets there. So what determines the sort of the severity of the rash and, you know what I mean? And the pain level, I guess, too.
Everyone's different in this way.
Okay.
And so everyone's experience will be different, right? You'll have people that tell you about, how they responded to COVID.
Yeah.
I would equate it also to the other medical factors that they have going on within their body at the time.
Oh, gotcha.
Right. So if your immune system, and so like I said, if your immune system is somewhat compromised or you have other conditions going on, that can create a much more aggressive presentation, right?
Okay.
And that's what becomes very concerning. So severity levels. Severity levels for me sometimes have to do with location and the areas that are involved. Okay. So for me, it's the intensity goes up, number one, if it's on your face, right? Okay. So for me, that's pretty severe because those nerves can get affected. And if the shingles progresses and gets worse, it tends to cause permanent damage to those nerves.
Okay.
So if it's close to your face and close to your eye, I call that severe. If it's close to your ear, where you could lose your hearing, I consider that severe, right? And if we're concerned about it being anywhere close into your brain, then obviously that's big time, right? So those are my concerns when we're talking about severity levels. If it's on your torso, it's. I guess I would say it's not as severe.
Yeah.
But still, if you ask anybody who's ever had it, no matter where you've got it, it's pretty severe because it hurts.
So now shingles, like chickenpox itches. Does shingles itch too, or is it, I've heard a lot about pain?
Yeah, the starting presentation for some it can start as itching, and then it turns into pain for some, and it's extremely painful.
And does it? I have not. This is just an Aunt Jane story, as my brother, the chemist, would tell me. But I personally don't know anybody who's had it on like their lower extremities. But is it common there as well? I mean, can people get it on their legs?
It can occur.
Okay.
There's no reason why it cannot.
Yeah.
It can. It's just not as common.
Okay. All right. So once somebody says, "Holy crow, here I have shingles," how long does it last? I mean, like what do we do here?
So if you have shingles, you definitely want to speak to your healthcare provider, because you can get treated for it, right? So there are medicines that we use, there are antivirals that we use to help treat it and to help slow it down so it doesn't last as long.
Okay.
Or to prevent it from having permanent damage, right? Mm-hmm. So there are medicines that we do utilize to treat it, and then we just kind of see how you do. Mm-hmm. And hopefully it kind of runs its course.
I mean, is there sort of like an average length of time? Because I know some people that, it just seems like they had it for weeks and weeks, and then other people that, I mean.
So the difference here is traditionally with this type of viral infection, it should only last for a couple of days. If it starts to persist well after that, it turns into something different. And that's when we start talking about post-herpetic neuralgia. And so people will typically have symptoms, right? It'll still hurt. Even though the rash is come and gone, they'll still have pain, and they'll be like, my shingle still bothers me.
Yeah.
But they may be past that part. So if they're telling you they still have symptoms 2 to 3 weeks after having had shingles, it's not the shingles anymore. It's not an active shingles thing. Traditionally what happens is shingles will come. There will be these bumps that are raised, and then once you stop making active bumps, you pretty much kind of run your course, right?
Okay.
And that usually happens within a couple of days. That's why it's important to let your provider know if you're seeing any, because the treatment window is very small, right? So as soon as you see it, you want to let someone know so they could hopefully send something in, and hopefully you start treatment within 72 hours to kind of help quell it. But if you don't, and you just let it run its natural course, which is fine, it will, there is still a chance that you'll still have some symptoms, and those symptoms can last days, weeks, and even months.
And so the symptoms that you might continue to have, so after the rash disappears, what are
you still have pain?
Is it mostly pain? I mean, are there other symptoms as well?
No, you'll still have pain in those areas. Like it will still hurt tremendously in that area, specifically where the rash was at. And for some people, that's uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well,
or if it occurred near your ear, you have permanent hearing loss. Or if it occurred in your eye, you have vision loss. Or if it occurred in your brain, then you might have some other issues.
Yeah. It's interesting. The ear thing is completely new to me. That one I have never heard. We had a senior who, during COVID, who came through the lunch line, who got it in her eyes, and I've had a few that have had the facial thing, but I've not heard the ear thing and the possible loss of hearing.
Yeah, that's a med school question. Right.
Okay.
That's a med school question. We always kind of test the medical students to kind of asking them and making sure that they're aware of how significant and how important it is to be aware of all the places in which shingles can occur. And thank goodness you don't get to see it as much, because it can be deforming and debilitating.
I would think so.
It is so.
I would think so. Now, are older adults more or less susceptible if they've had chickenpox?
More.
I mean, they're more susceptible if they have had chickenpox.
Because it's existing.
Because we went and played with Vinny.
Well, and because it's an active virus that's in your system that never left. Like the chickenpox never leaves you. It stays with you.
So if someone never had chickenpox, which is kind of unusual for I'm a baby boomer, so for my age group, most of us had it. But for somebody who didn't, what's their risk for shingles?
they're still at risk after the age of 50. They're definitely at risk, and so it's something that they have to be mindful of. And so, even if you've never had it after the age of 50, you definitely should consider and think about getting your shingles vaccination.
Okay. So we're going to take a short break, and then that's what we're going to get into.
Great.
We're going to talk about the vaccination. So if you're just joining us, my guest this morning is Dr. Akinyele Lovelace, who is a primary care physician with Family Medicine Associates in the brown and beige building, down the street, which my mission is to get a mural on that building because I think it would be so.
That'd be pretty cool.
That'd be so cool.
That'd be
but
cool.
anyway, that's another topic.
For another day.
But our topic this morning is shingles, and so believe it or not, there are lots of shingles songs out there now. As you might have guessed from the first one that we listened to, it's not like any professional musicians are doing these songs. This one is by Brian David Gilbert. It's hilarious. If you ever get to see the video, he's young, and he talks about that in the song, and it's called "Shingle Jingle." We'll be
Hi,
back.
my name is Brian. I have shingles, so I'm told. This is strange because this often affects those 60 years old. But shingles can be brought about by undue amounts of stress, like if you're stressed about your job or your house or your bank account, or bed bugs, or the small amount you exercise, or the political environment, or gun control, or the situation in North and South Korea, even though they say they're no longer at war, but that seems way too easy. Shingles are very painful, which is bad if you forget. Some people ask to see them, which they usually regret. My doctor gave me pills and told me I should get some rest, and to burn sage in my apartment to make sure the ghosts were addressed, and to stay away from the number 6, and to pass a cat under a bridge, and to tie a leak to the affected sores, but mostly just to sleep.
Dance break! Okay.
Oh God, I totally forgot. I'm sorry.
Can you get the leak for me?
Yeah, I'll get the leak.
Oh! Oh! 5, 6. I was laughing. That's a good one, though. It's good. It makes a good
Underwriting
impact.
for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield, serving the youth of the Whip City and surrounding communities since 1969. For more information on the Great Futures Club for ages 3 to 5, happening weekdays, and the Club Teen Center for ages 11 and older, weekdays from 6:30 till 8 p.m., go online at bcgwestfield.org or visit the club at 28 West Silver Street. The Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield. Great futures start here.
I'm Mark Auerbach. Join me every Friday at 8 a.m. for ArtSpeak, where you'll meet interesting actors, directors, designers, and musicians here in Western New England.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 at 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:48. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I am your Wake Up Wednesday host. Pete Coles is behind the glass as our producer. And my guest this morning is Dr. Akinyele Lovelace, primary care physician with Family Medicine Associates here in Westfield, chair of this year's Noble Ball. We'll keep throwing that in there a little bit too.
I appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
No worries.
Off to the races we are.
Off to the races we are. I actually really love that theme. Today's topic is shingles. So we've talked about the fact that it can be, this just can really be a devastating, illness. And so one of the ways, we're lucky that we have a vaccine. There is a shingles vaccine.
We do.
So I really want to spend some time talking about the vaccine because there's a buzz going on at the senior center, I would say, for the last month about the shingles vaccine and among the seniors and among the staff, because most of the staff, most of us are in our 60s at least. And so, so the talk is, have you had your shingles vaccine? And there are a lot of questions about the vaccine. You get more than one, and how long does it last? Who's paying for it? Does the insurance cover it? So let's talk about some of those things.
All right. So the shingles vaccine, so the one that's out now is called Shingrix. It was approved by the FDA in 2017.
Okay.
And this one replaced Zostavax.
Okay.
Right? And so the previous shingles vaccine was not as effective.
Okay.
Right? Maybe about 50% effective, and that's not what you want from a vaccination. And so, I remember there would be adults who would say, my insurance is not paying for the shingles vaccine. And it kind of makes sense. Why would you recommend a vaccine that's only about 50% effective? But if you ever ask someone who had shingles and then had, it ran its course for almost 3 to 5 weeks, and then they got post-herpetic neuralgia, so they got the long-term symptoms from it. They would tell you that, if you told me before that I had a 50% chance of not having post-herpetic neuralgia or long-term symptoms from it, I'd take my chance with the Zostavax. The problem is that insurance wasn't covering it. And so that was the concern that a lot of seniors had, because we're talking about a population of people that are on a fixed income, right? Or they just have a limited amount, a good portion of what they want to spend on medicine and healthcare in that way. And so I respect that. What's happened now is that the newer version, Shingrix, which has been out since 2017, has been shown to be 90% effective. Which is excellent, right?
Yeah.
And so that's a very important concept to take in. And so when you're talking to these managed care plans, when you're talking to Medicare in general, right, or even your commercial plan, that's more attractive, right? Because then that translates into a better quality of life for the lives that you're accountable for. And so it's a 2-shot series. So you get it, you walk in, you sign up for it at your local pharmacy. You get it, that day, and then maybe 3 months later you get your second shot. And then that's it, right? And so why is this of value? This is of value because it's going to decrease your risk for having complications from shingles if you do get it. Now, just because you get the shot, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to get shingles. But what it is going to do is it's going to definitely decrease your risk from having long-term side effects or long-term complications if you do happen to have the reactivation of that virus in your body.
All right. And do you know the reason for the 2-shot?
It's just how it's made.
That's just the way it is.
That's just how it kind of comes.
Was the first one a 1-shot deal?
It was.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I remember people having to go back. But now, and I know because my husband Gary he had his first one, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. And then they give you whatever your window is.
That's right.
That you.
That's right.
And I can't remember.
You got to come back in.
You have to go back in.
About
for
3
the
months.
second shot.
Yeah.
And are people having reaction? Do you know if people are having reactions to the vaccination?
I've rarely had someone come back and talk to me about their shingles vaccination. Honestly, it's very, very rare. I can't recall. Unlike some of the other vaccines, I think people complain about their tetanus shot or obviously COVID shots have been a big concern, but shingles, no, not really.
So now let me ask you this: just having just had my COVID and my flu shot, which I did together.
Great.
And kind of had 24 hours of it was really weird. I had 24 hours of sort of headache, sort of feeling joints, kind of stuff. And it was almost magical, like 24 hours later. And all of a sudden I'm looking at the clock going, hey, I feel fine. I don't feel fine. But now my question is there a time period that I should wait before I have the shingles vaccine?
No.
No. Okay. So that
whatever
one has
works,
nothing to, whatever works
whatever
for
works
me.
in your schedule is what it really boils
Because
down
I'm getting really
to.
nervous about shingles now because I'm just hearing so much talk about it. And I'm just seeing so many of our seniors that are, that are getting it. And, it's kind of like, okay, my sister-in-law got it. She said, the funny thing is her husband got the vaccine. She was scheduled to get the vaccine, I think at the same time. And I don't know whether she had a cold or she just wasn't feeling well. And she said, all right, well, I'll get it next week. No, you won't, because she got shingles.
Yeah.
And she said, you do not want to get shingles.
No, you don't want to get.
You really want to get the vaccine. Okay, so now in terms of insurance coverage, some yes, some no. You have to
at this point, it's all yes.
Okay.
So for those who are saying that it's not covered, that's very rare at this standpoint.
Okay.
A lot of insurances, a lot of managed care plans are encouraging it because the the complications that occur, if you don't, are much higher. And so, yes, with now that it being 90% effective, they're covering it.
Okay.
If they don't, you definitely want to check your insurance plan because that doesn't make any sense anymore.
Absolutely.
But now, yes. Before, right? So prior to 2017, absolutely not. And so that's why a lot of adults who were still very health conscious got it anyway, right? And then they just paid whatever it was. And so even if you got your Zostavax, so if you got the earlier version, you still can get this version, right? And it will give you that much more protective benefit.
And that was one of my other questions. Is so how long is the vaccine? Like, how often are you getting the shingles vaccine?
You get it once in your lifetime.
Oh, just
you're getting it once after 50.
Okay. I like that.
So you don't have to really go back and re-get it.
Yeah.
But so it definitely, for the time in which we're going to be exposed or have the risk for it, you only need it once after 50.
Okay. All right. That's good to know. Because
That's
I
great
didn't
to
know
know.
if it was like, tetanus is every 10 years and flu is every year and COVID is whenever the heck they decide we need it. And
Correct.
So, okay. All right. So my last question, and you kind of touched on this a little bit, but for those who end up getting shingles, the treatment it's medication. Is that, is there anything are there any topicals that you're putting on this rash? Okay. So what are we doing here?
So there's some good options for you going forward if it hurts. Yes, there's a medication you can take to slow down the viral activity that's there.
Okay.
And then there are a lot of topical options. And so we tend to recommend, good old-fashioned calamine lotion. I know you remember calamine
Really?
lotion,
Oh, my
right?
God, the pink stuff.
The pink stuff, right? Yep. Then there's also capsaicin, right? Capsaicin is an over-the-counter it's actually a pepper, right? It's a pepper that you use, but it's now it's a topical form that can actually help kind of ease the pain of those areas to allow you to just feel a little bit more comfortable. Sometimes your provider will also recommend topical lidocaine, right? So topical lidocaine can also be of some value. So there's a variety of different topical options that can be used and applied. And sometimes you do have to take an anti-inflammatory here and there if that's okay to do. Or your Tylenol, right? So your regular oral pain medications, over-the-counter pain medications can help. But sometimes it does get a little bit more intense, and you do have to kind of follow up with your primary care provider and talk about other options to just kind of help with the pain for a little bit longer, because it can be very uncomfortable.
And what is the term that you've used it a couple of times now?
Post-herpetic neuralgia, PHN, post-herpetic neuralgia.
Herpetic. What does that mean?
It's a herpes virus. So we began this conversation with talking about the type of virus that shingles is. Yep. And shingles is a type of herpes virus, similar to like a cold sore, right? So these viruses, they never leave you. They are, once you get them, they're with you for life. And so post-herpetic neuralgia. So herpetic, we're just kind of talking about it. So after the herpetic rash, right? And so neuralgia is actually the term that really, we're talking about nerves. And so what happens is after this herpes virus has kind of done its job, it can sometimes leave a lingering effect on the nerve areas within your body, like we spoke about. And that's what's called post-herpetic neuralgia. And that's what some people are even more concerned about, because it causes long-term pain in certain places. And so they have this nagging underlying pain that can last months, and sometimes even years, right? And so if you went through the full, up to sometimes 3 to 5 week course of having shingles, and then turn around and continue to have pain from the shingles, even though the rash and everything else has gone away, that can be very, very unsettling for a lot of people. And so our goal is to try to prevent that from occurring, because that can be very, very impactful for our seniors.
Yeah. I think the takeaway for me, the good news is that we have a vaccination for this. And prevention is definitely key here.
It's ideal.
We really do not want to, go through this. And
Agreed.
Well, Dr. Lovelace, thank you so much. This was great, because I really did, get some good information, and
been fun.
Hopefully our viewers did as well. And the other thing that I'd like to end with is, and we kind of heard it in the Shingle Jingle song over there. We see this a lot in people who are older, and it sounds to me like they're higher risk, but younger people also get shingles.
If you're immunocompromised, so if you if you're battling a chronic condition, like if you've had cancer, if you've got HIV, if you are on certain medicines that affect your immune system, right? We're seeing all these different things that people are using to help with their skin, and they are now a little bit more at risk.
Yeah, right.
So even though nothing is everything, like the commercial says, there can be some other things that you
Yeah.
can potentially get, right? And so we have to be very aware. So there are younger people who are at risk, and a lot of times it has to do with their other medical conditions that they have.
Yeah. All right. Dr. Lovelace, thank you so much for schooling us on shingles.
Always a pleasure.
And thank you for you and your lovely wife, Christina, for chairing this year's Bay State Noble Ball. And again, I would really encourage people to support this in whatever
Please.
way works for them.
Because if we don't, it won't exist.
No, absolutely not. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. We'll be back after this top of the hour break.
Underwriting for Community Radio on WSKB is brought to you in part by Rockies. Over 30 convenient locations throughout Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Connecticut, and Florida. One of the nation's largest ACE dealers. Expertise and great product selection in paint, hardware, lawn and garden. That's Rockies. Rock solid service since 1926. On the web at rockies.com.
This is Ken Stomsky from Ken's Den on WCPC 15 and 89.5 FM, Tuesdays, 8 to 10.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:03. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, Pete Coase. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
Pete, it's really great that we have Dr. Lovelace in here once a month because you can, connect with your PCP.
Yes, we have a quick chat. He says, where you at?
I know. And,
Do you need to come in?
It's
what's going on?
great, though, because think of how many people, can't get a hold of their doctor, and you get to see yours once a month.
By the way, have you noticed we set up a weather cam upstairs? That's on the cupola.
Well,
upstairs.
I knew that we talked about this last week or
Look
the
at
week
the
before.
sunrise.
Yeah. beautiful, and the trees are really,
right. I noticed that
they're
too.
in full form. Although, we had a lot of wind over the last few days, and Gary and Grace and I were noticing we have a huge tree in our front yard. It's gorgeous, and about a week ago it had all turned. It was lovely, but we've had so much wind. Gary said we lost a lot of those leaves.
I don't know if you've noticed, but the weather patterns from year to year to year pretty much the same in timing.
Okay.
And the years when we have an El Nino or La Nina, I noticed that they shift about 2 or 3 weeks.
They're
timing.
off. Yeah.
And that's when we get like the ice storm and things like that, where the leaves stay. And this is about the time where it always gets windy.
Yep.
The last week of the Big E is always a time where it starts getting cold and rainy.
Yep.
And when things shift a little bit, you get pockets of abhorrence in there, but generally people are talking about all this change of stuff. And I'm like, I'm seeing the patterns pretty close to being the same.
Yeah. Yep.
There's these times of year where things happen and apparently nature figures it out because, the leaves come down before the snow falls and the trees don't fall over.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
I look at these patterns.
Yeah. Well, and that's it. You can't look at it like, a day at a time. It's got to be, you have to look at it over time.
Yeah.
What are your patterns?
Yeah, trending time.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why, the old Yankee farmers were like, if the acorns are big, it's going to be, or pine cones are big.
I had not heard that yet. Well, pine cones are big this year. We
have
some
thing,
down
though,
the street from us. Yeah.
Those are the mechanisms that nature has to preserve itself over the winter. And the nuts, because that's what a lot of critters use to sustain themselves over the winter. So the bigger they are, the worse it's going to be.
Yeah, nature's an amazing thing. Nature figures it out.
I had an uncle that was from upstate Maine, and my grandfather is very, very Yankee, I call it.
Okay.
And they would pass these little nuggets down, and you're going, hey man, the farmers tell me this, and this is what I believe.
Yep.
You still remember it to this day.
There's nobody there was nobody, I think, watching, weather and weather patterns like farmers. I mean, their livelihood depends on it. So they have to, they can't just bury their head in the sand and say, oh, whatever happens, happens. They have to, try to figure all this stuff out. And, back in the day, they couldn't just go to the internet, They had to look for the signs.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, today is October 16th. So let's do a few famous birthdays. We have some special days coming up, and then we have a really cool segment that we're going to play a little bit later this second hour. So first of all, today is the birthday of the late Noah Webster, lexicographer. Yeah. Hard word to say. Born on this day in 1758 in West Hartford, Connecticut. He lived he died in 1843 at the age of 84. So Noah Webster is best known for creating the first American English dictionary and for his influential spelling book. Webster attended Yale College, graduating in 1778. He initially struggled to find work as a lawyer, and so he turned to teaching. In 1783, he published a book called A Grammatical Institute of the English Language, commonly known as the Blue-Backed Speller. This book taught many American children how to read and spell. In the 1790s, Webster became a Federalist editor in New York City and wrote extensively on political topics. In 1807, he began work on his dictionary project. This effort, this was amazing to me. This effort involved learning many languages to better understand word origins, a field known as etymology. Webster published an American Dictionary of the English Language in 1828 at the age of 70. See, I haven't even hit 70 yet, Pete, so I haven't peaked yet. This work helped standardize American English spelling. Webster died in 1843, having just finished revising the second edition of his dictionary. His work continues to influence American English through the Merriam-Webster dictionaries. Yeah. So, and local
still
guy.
Located in Springfield, Massachusetts.
Still located in Springfield, Massachusetts. So, yeah, we have a lot of ties to Webster here. But, I think when you think about undertaking that project, that was huge. And how did people even come up with the ideas to undertake a project like that? I'm really in awe of some of these people back in those days, where, again, there were no computers back there. If you made a mistake, you had to kind of start all over. All right. I want to talk about this one a bit too. It is the birthday of the late David Ben-Gurion, first Prime Minister of Israel, because this gives you a little history of how we ended up where we are today. So David Ben-Gurion was born on this date in 1886 in Poland. He died December 1st, 1973 at the age of 87. So David Ben-Gurion was the first Prime Minister of Israel and is known as the founding father of the State of Israel. Ben-Gurion's political career began in the Zionist movement, which advocated for the establishment of a Jewish homeland in Palestine. He became one of the movement's key leaders, and he was instrumental in rallying support for the cause, both within the Jewish community as well as among the international community. The territory that came under Israeli control with their declaration of independence on May 14th, 1948, which is not really all that long ago, had been controlled by the British since the end of World War I as part of the League of Nations mandate for Palestine. In 1917, the British Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour had issued the Balfour Declaration, which stated that the British government's official position was in support of Zionism, the movement to establish a Jewish homeland. That was back in 1917. 20 years...
It was kind of to restore a Jewish homeland.
Okay. So 20 years later, in 1937, the Peel Commission in Britain suggested splitting the mandate into an Arab state and a Jewish state, which was rejected and helped cause a renewal of the revolt by the Arab population against British rule. After World War II, the United Nations recommended the Partition Plan, which divided the land into Jewish and Arab-controlled areas. The proposal was rejected by most of the Arab populace, but nevertheless was passed by the UN General Assembly, of course with the opposition of the Arab states, on November 29, 1947. The plan was never completely implemented, as a civil war broke out between the Jews and Arabs almost immediately. After the Jewish forces largely won the war, David Ben-Gurion led the Declaration of Independence on May 14, 1948. The next day, Israel was invaded by the Arab League. After 10 months of fighting, Israel had defeated the Arab states who occupied most of the Arab-controlled areas. Under the armistice agreements of 1949, Israel kept the areas that was given to it under the partition plan and roughly 60% of the areas initially given to the Palestinians. The resulting conflict is one of the longest running and most intractable in the world, with several major conflicts between Israel and the Arab states in 1967 and 1973, and now we can add 2023, right, because it started a year ago. Controversial Israeli occupations of the Gaza Strip and the West Bank, and recurrent conflicts between the two parties and various armed groups.
I mean, I was curious about this when everything happened last year.
Yeah.
And I did research. It goes back thousands of years.
Oh, it does. That's part of the
problem. Because it goes back to biblical times.
Yes.
And then the Jews were conquered by the Arabs, but they were also conquered by the Romans.
Yep.
The Turkish Empire, the Ottoman Empire. Like they were
Yeah.
It's been long since, and that if you go back to the historical, I mean, the Bible's half historical, half, you know what I mean?
Right, I do.
But there's a lot in the Old Testament that's very historical, and that's the story of Jesus being born is a historical place, you know?
Right.
And where part of what's Syria now. And then the Golan Heights is really the ancestral home of the Jews.
Okay.
And so the areas that they got are kind of their ancestral homelands. And you know, people don't realize that the state of Israel is no bigger than New Jersey.
It is. It's really tiny.
Right.
I mean, you look at a map. You know, that's it. I mean, a lot of these, they're countries, but my God, you can, cross them in.
We talk about existential threats in this country.
Yeah.
An existential threat is being basically the size of New Jersey.
Right.
And every state around you wants you dead.
Yeah.
That's the real deal.
Yep.
Not this not this junk that we throw around words lightly around here.
Yeah, we do. We do. Well, and I can remember my dad. My dad worked for the government. He worked for the Defense Department for years. And I remember my father saying, we don't really appreciate in this country the fact that, just as you said, Pete, these conflicts go back thousands of years. They're so old. I mean, he's like, we think we're going to go solving these things overnight.
We're a couple hundred years old in this country. Yeah. We're youngins.
Absolutely. We are. We're wet behind the ears. But anyway, I just thought it was kind of interesting, just because of everything going on today.
Yeah, there's been a couple deep dive videos on that, and I'm like, all right, well, let me see if I believe. And then I started researching what they're talking about, and I'm like, I can find verification that and that and that. And I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna trust this as just the history is fascinating.
The history is fascinating. I know, Pete, you're one of those guys that loves to, kind of do the deep dive and get the background. Yeah, I know. All right, let's do one more birthday. It is the birthday of Angela Lansbury, actress born, the late Angela Lansbury, born on this date in 1925 in London, England. She died 2 years ago, October 11th, 2022. She was 96, so she was really less than a week shy of her 97th birthday. She was 96 when she passed away. Angela Lansbury had an acting career which spanned 7 decades, encompassing film, stage, and television. Her most recognizable roles were playing Jessica Fletcher in Murder, She Wrote, the title role in the Broadway musical Mame, and the voice of Mrs. Potts in Disney's Beauty and the Beast. Angela Lansbury was born to an Irish actress mother and English timber magnate and communist politician father. Her father died when she was just 10, and at the start of World War II, her mother took Angela and her brothers to live in New York City. In New York, Angela studied acting, then moved to Hollywood, taking small film roles. After some level of success, but finding herself typecast as an older villainous character, she embraced work on the stage. Finding success in both New York and London, Lansbury gained the ability to be more selective of her screen roles. In 1962, she won acclaim for her work in the film The Manchurian Candidate, and in 1966 garnered her first of 5 competitive Tony Awards in the title role of the musical Mame. Angela Lansbury moved to a farm in Ireland in the 1970s to concentrate on family issues, while continuing to work on the West End and Broadway. The development of the television detective series Murder, She Wrote led to her signature role as crime-solving mystery novelist Jessica Fletcher. The series ran from 1984 to 2003.
Yeah.
And while never winning, she was nominated for 18 Emmy Awards. I didn't realize that it ran that long.
Oh yeah, that was a staple.
That was a long run. I thought I would have guessed about 6 or 7 years, but my goodness.
Yep.
That was like almost 20 years. So anyway, happy birthday to the late Angela Lansbury. All right, let's take a short break. I've lost my cheat sheet here. Hold on. Okay, here we go. So we're going to take a short break. I love this song. Of course, I'm sorry, folks, but now I'm a grandmother, so I'm sort of into children's songs. But I found this song, and I loved it because I didn't want it's National Sports Day, which is all sports, and I wanted to find a song about all sports, which is not easy to do. There's a lot of songs about one or the other. Lots of baseball songs out there. But I found this. It's called Do You Like Sports? It's by Fun Kids English. And I guarantee you'll be humming this tune and because it's a very simple kids song, you'll be singing this in your brain all day long. It is 7:18. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. We'll be back.
Do you like playing sports? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Can you kick and hit? Can you bounce and catch? Do you like playing sports? Yes, I do. Do you like soccer? Yes, I do. Do you like soccer? Yes, I do. Can you kick a ball? Can you kick a ball? Do you like soccer? do. Do you like playing sports? Yes, I do.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Join us every Thursday morning
from 6 until at least 7:30.
Check out the Bobby G and Company Show
right here on WSKB 89.5
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 at 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:22. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM, radio for the Westfield masses, and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host. I'm in the studio with the chairman of the board, Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
So I'm telling you, you'll be humming that song all day long. Do you like to play sports? Yes, I do. All right, October is Down Syndrome Awareness Month. So let's talk a little bit about that, and then we're going to do our next segment, which I'm pretty excited about. But let's do this first. Typically, the nucleus of each cell in the human body contains 23 pairs of chromosomes, half of which are inherited from each parent. Down syndrome occurs when an individual has a full or partial extra copy of chromosome number 21. This additional genetic material alters the course of development and causes the characteristics associated with Down syndrome. A few of the common physical traits of Down syndrome are low muscle tone, small stature, an upward slant to the eyes, and a single deep crease across the center of the palm. Although each person with Down syndrome is a unique individual and may possess these characteristics to different degrees, or in some cases not at all. For centuries, people with Down syndrome have been alluded to in art, literature, and science. It wasn't until the late 19th century, however, that John Langdon Down, an English physician, published an accurate description of a person with Down syndrome. It was this scholarly work, published in 1866, that earned Down the recognition as the father of the syndrome. Although other people had previously recognized the characteristics of the syndrome, it was Down who described the condition as a distinct and separate entity. Individuals with Down syndrome are becoming increasingly integrated into society and community organizations, such as schools, healthcare systems, workforces, and societal and recreational activities. Individuals with Down syndrome possess varying degrees of cognitive delays from very mild to severe. Most people with Down syndrome have cognitive delays that are mild to moderate. People with Down syndrome should always be referred to as people first. Instead of a Down syndrome child, it should be a child with Down syndrome. Down syndrome is a condition or a syndrome. It's not a disease. People have Down syndrome. They do not suffer from it and are not afflicted by it. Typically developing or typical is preferred over the word normal, so we're kind of getting away from that. Intellectual disability or cognitive disability has replaced mental retardation as the appropriate term. The National Down Syndrome Society strongly condemns the use of the word retarded in any derogatory context. Using this word is hurtful and suggests that people with disabilities are not competent. And we know that people with Down syndrome and other disabilities are very competent. So, all right. So that said, I want to begin to talk about our next segment. And I want to talk a little bit about how this segment sort of came about. So we got the idea, Pete and I, while we were prepping for our Senior Options 2024 event, which took place in September this year, that we were going to have all of these fabulous vendors there. And some of them are vendors that we don't get to see very often. Some come from other parts of the state, some it's just that they cover a wide region and, they're really busy. And so it's hard for us to get them out to the senior center. So we thought it would be a great idea if, while we had everybody in one place at one time, if we could at least tape a couple of them, do an interview, tape a few of them that we could use to air at a further time. So we are going to actually air one of those segments this morning on the Wake Up Wednesday show. So, and the reason that we're airing this particular segment on this particular day is because October is White Cane Awareness Month. So I want to talk a little bit about that first, and then I'll introduce the segment and our guest. So October is White Cane Safety Awareness Month to raise understanding and awareness of orientation and mobility tools for individuals who are blind and visually impaired. Now, about the white cane law. The white cane allows a person who is blind to travel independently. In 1931, Lions clubs began promoting the use of white canes for people who are blind as a national identification program. All states and many other countries have white cane laws, which allow pedestrians who are legally blind the right of way at street crossings. Massachusetts white cane law states that all motorists, upon seeing a pedestrian who uses a dog guide or a white cane at a street crossing, must come to a complete stop. Here are a few guidelines regarding how to interact with someone who is blind or visually impaired. When in doubt, ask if the person needs assistance. Don't just assume because they're blind or visually impaired that you need to help them. A lot of these people are quite independent and, would rather do it themselves. So just ask them, Do not grab the person, cane, or the guide dog. Do not pet a guide dog. A guide dog is a working dog. And when that dog is in harness, they are working. So they're not there to be petted. They're there to do a job. Because petting them can be very distracting for the dog. Identify yourself when you come into a room and let the person know when you are leaving a room or location. Remember, people who are blind or visually impaired can't see you. So they don't, if you're quiet and you walk out, you're on carpeting and they don't hear you, they don't know that you've left the room. When you speak about someone with a disability, refer to the person and then to the disability, which is exactly what we were just talking about with Down syndrome. For example, refer to a person who is blind rather than a blind person or the blind man or the blind kid or whatever. This is called person-first language. And always yield to white cane and dog guide users at street crossings. Remember, in Massachusetts, it is the law. So one of the segments that we taped at our Senior Options event this year is was the Mass Commission for the Blind. Now, there are two different associations. There's the Mass Commission for the Blind and the Mass Association for the Blind. And actually, our guest on this segment will explain the difference. But we interviewed Kathy Millis, who is the treasurer and clerk for the Friends of the Westfield Senior Center and one of our volunteer extraordinaires at the Senior Center, did the interviews for this because I was running around, just kind of coordinating this whole event.
And Harry was in Europe.
I had asked Harry to do it, but Harry was in Switzerland with Anne. So Harry Rock normally does our Council on Aging Presents series. But, Pete and Kathy did really a fabulous job. And I'm excited to introduce the guest. Her name is Carrie Davidson Brovman. She's the regional director of the Western Massachusetts Commission for the Blind. Carrie is a former student of mine. Carrie, I don't know if you knew that, Pete. So,
no.
Yeah, when I taught at Springfield College, I had Carrie both. I taught her. She had the Needs of Aging class with me, and I also supervised her field work, her placements, because I did all of the practicums and then the interns when they got into their junior and senior year. So I'm so proud of Carrie. And it was funny because it was at one of the Senior Options events pre-COVID that this beautiful young lady came up to me and said, I don't know if you remember me, Professor Gorman. And I said, oh my gosh. And I'm looking at her and I'm thinking, and she said, Carrie Davidson. Well, of course, now her married name is Brovman. And I went, oh my gosh. She was a fabulous student. She was a great student, did her grad work also at Springfield. And I'm so proud of her. And she did a fabulous job on this interview. So we are going to listen to, before we do the interview, we're going to listen to Art Garfunkel singing Bright Eyes. And this is in honor of this upcoming segment by the Mass Commission for the Blind. And then we'll just go right into this segment. You are listening to WSKB 89.5 FM, radio for the Westfield Masses, and WCPC Cable Channel 15.
Is it a kind of dream floating out on the tide, following the river of death downstream? Or is it a dream? There's a fog along the strange glow in the sky, and nobody seems to know where you go, and what does it mean? Oh, is it a dream? Bright eyes burning like fire, bright eyes, how can you close and fail? How can the light that burns so brightly suddenly burn so pale? Bright eyes. Is it a kind of shadow reaching into the night, wandering over the hills unseen? Or is it a dream? There's a high wind in the trees, a cold sound in the air, and nobody ever knows when you go, and where do you start? Oh, into the dark. Bright eyes burning like fire, bright eyes, how can we close and fail? How can the light that burns so brightly suddenly burn so pale? Bright eyes, bright eyes, burning like fire, bright eyes, how can you close and fail? How can the light that burns so brightly suddenly burn so pale? Bright eyes.
Underwriting is brought to you by Boise Cascade Distribution, providing products and services needed for building material dealers, home improvement centers, and industrial customers. They offer everything from engineered wood and plywood to Drex decking and railing, James Hardy siding, and Advantech subfloor. Located at 33 Fowler Street Extension in Westfield and on the web at bc.com, they are committed to providing quality products, great service, convenience, and value.
Hi, it's Bob Plass, and I have Wow, It's Tuesday, every Tuesday, 6 to 8. Wow, it's Tuesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
I did it!
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Hi, my name is Kathy Mellis, and I am the treasurer and clerk for the Friends of the Westfield Senior Center. Today, producer Pete Coles and I are at the Senior Center. We're broadcasting WCPC Cable Channel 15 and WSKB 89.5 FM radio at Westfield's Senior Option 24 event. My first interview is going to be with Carrie Davidson Bravman. Carrie's actually the regional director of Western Massachusetts Commission for the Blind. Thank you, Carrie, for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start out with you telling us a little bit about yourself and about what the Commission for the Blind does.
Sure. So like Kathy said, I'm Carrie Davidson, and I work for the Commission for the Blind. I've been here just shy of 16 years. Next week will be my 16th year.
Wow.
I came in right after graduate school, and I have been here ever since. So I think I'm a lifer. I did go to Springfield College in their Rehabilitation and Disabilities department.
Okay.
So that was kind of how I fell into the field of disabilities, and I've been doing it ever since.
Wonderful, wonderful. You probably are a lifer at this point. How does someone become registered with the Massachusetts Commission for the Blind?
Yeah, so what happens is an individual would go for an eye appointment with an eye care provider in the community, and they would be the person determining if they are legally blind. And what that means is if someone's vision is 2200 or worse with correction in the better eye, or if there's a field loss of 10 degrees, regardless of their acuity. So the range can vary quite a bit. People think that vision legally blind is just like totally blind, and that's not the case. There's a lot of variance in there. So what happens is the eye care provider then has 30 days to contact us and send us what's called a mandatory report of legal blindness that determines the individual for services. So it then gets to our blindness registry department in Boston, and then gets bounced out to the regions based on geographically where an individual lives.
Okay. Okay. Is there a wait list for your services?
Technically, no. But as the aging population is increasing, we've had more and more referrals coming in. So typically we used to say somebody would receive a call within a week or two for a caseworker to come out to talk about services. Now it can be anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks, just depending on where they are and where our case managers are with their caseloads.
Okay. Is there actually an age?
Nope. Nope. So I know we're here to talk about the older adult population, but our agency does service people from birth to death.
Oh.
So we have several different departments and disciplines within the agency that provide services to children, then like our teens, which is our pre-employment, then employment age, and then older adults. So we really work with an individual in all stages of life and at all points in their vision loss.
Okay, and what types of comprehensive services does the agency provide to our older adults?
A lot. So we have some disciplines in-house, and then we have other services that we can refer out into the community for. But the main ones in-house are rehabilitation teaching. So that is an individual who would come into the home from the commission, and they would work with them on activities of daily living. So really think about anything you'd be doing from the time you get up to the time you go to bed. Cooking, cleaning, managing medication, finances, caring for another individual, whether it be another family member, a child, an animal. We would reteach them the skills on how to do the things now that they've lost their vision, and we can provide a lot of different gadgets and technology and things like that can make their life easier.
Okay.
Then we have orientation and mobility instruction. So that would be someone who's coming in and training them on how to get around both their home and their community. So we do provide canes and training with canes, but some people decide not to use them, which is fine. But the cane is really used for safety, identification, and for navigating around to be able to feel a wall where there's a curb cut, an entrance of a building where the stairs are. You know, we would train them on how to use that appropriately so that they could get around independently.
Okay.
And then the last thing that we have in-house is our adaptive technology department. So this is where a specialist would come in and they would provide a comprehensive assessment to determine where the person is in their vision loss and what type of adaptive technology could assist them with accessing their phone, their computer. If they're still working, what does that look like for them? You know, do they maybe need a larger monitor that they could slide paper underneath and it would enlarge everything on a screen? And those are just some of the things, but there's a lot out there.
There is a lot. This might be totally aside. You have no connection to the dogs, do you?
No. So our orientation and mobility department, as far as they go, is providing the canes. They do have to sign off on an individual before they can get a guide dog.
Okay.
So a lot of times we'll give the consumer the information for the guide dog schools, but other than that, and our orientation and mobility instructor signing off and saying yes, this person can do X, Y, and Z. No, but we do get to pet the dogs when they're off.
Oh,
when they're off harness, so that is nice. But when they're working, they're working.
Where actually do the participants receive the services?
So, since somebody's legally blind, they're no longer able to drive. So we understand that getting out into the community can be really difficult. So all of our services are provided in their home or their community. We have a lot of people who still live independently, so we would do them in the home. If there's somebody who the house might be a little bit too hectic to have a meeting there, we could meet anywhere in the community, a library, a senior center, a Dunkin' Donuts, and anything like that.
Okay. And can an individual receive services, let's say they're in a nursing home?
Yep, so we do service a lot of individuals who live in assisted living or nursing homes. Again, the services might not be as comprehensive because they're not living independently, but they may just want some things in their room marked, whether it be a microwave or things in the bathroom so that they can navigate around. In a lot of cases like that, we would provide what we call as a CCTV. So it's a machine where they would be able to read mail or maybe see pictures of their family or do a large print crossword, depending on their vision. So those types of things we would provide in a setting like that.
Oh, that's wonderful, wonderful.
And when somebody's in a nursing home or assisted living, we like to educate the staff on how to interact with the person. Because a lot of times people will go into the room and not identify themselves, and that can be very scary for somebody who has a visual impairment.
Right.
So they might feel like they're being spooked or someone's sneaking up on them, and it's not the case. It's just that they don't know. So we like to provide the education around. These are techniques on how to work with somebody with a visual impairment, using sighted guide when navigating somebody around, and not just saying, go over there. Well, they don't know where there is. Use a clock as a reference, or guide them with your arm, or have them take your elbow and move them around.
Oh, that is wonderful. And how long are individuals able to receive services?
So there's really no cutoff point. It really is individualized based on what the person's needs are. So if somebody comes to us and they've just lost their vision, that adjustment to vision can take a long time. So we have had clients who we've worked with for a year. We've had clients who we've worked with for 5 or 6 years. In a lot of cases, as people are aging, the vision is also changing. So what'll happen is we'll provide services. Somebody might feel great. They've got everything they need. They're independently getting around their home and their community. A couple years later, their vision changes. They can always give us a call back. Then we go back out and we kind of start all over again. So we do another assessment. Okay, where's your vision at now? What are your needs now? And if there's different equipment that they need, we would take back what we've given them and we would provide new devices so that way they can continue living and doing the things they want to do.
So it's actually forever. As long as you need it, we'll be there.
Yep, exactly.
Oh,
and
that's
once you're
wonderful.
registered with us, you're registered. It's very rare that somebody comes off of our registry, so you're always in the system, which is nice. That people could call up and any one of us can look up an individual to determine, where they are for services or what we've done in the past and where we can go in the future.
Oh, that is absolutely wonderful. Are there any other benefits for being registered as legally blind?
Sure. So there are a lot. I'm gonna use my cheat sheet here because
please do.
There's so many. So when somebody becomes registered, they get what's called a certificate of blindness, and with that, they can get a deduction on their real estate, their excise, and their income tax. So how that works is they would just have to provide a copy of that to their local tax collector, whether it be the town clerk, the city clerk, depending on where they live, and then those deductions would come off. We also provide a Massachusetts Commission for the Blind ID, so it serves as another form of identification for people. It doesn't take the place of the state ID, but it's a second form of ID. With that, you can ride on the public buses for free.
Oh.
And same thing in Boston. You could get a Charlie card and you could ride the MBTA for free. So that can be a huge savings for people.
Yeah.
Some other things people have access to are Perkins talking book machines, different talking and audio journals. Those are things we can sign an individual up so they can receive different ways of accessing information. Different equipment for using a phone. So again, we don't have these services directly within our agency, but we refer out to other state organizations that provide the services directly to the individuals. So if somebody's unable to use their home phone, there's different phones that can have larger buttons on them, talking caller ID, talking when you hit the number. So it doesn't seem like much, but that's sometimes the lifeline for people to have access to the outside world.
Absolutely, especially some of our older adults,
Right. And we do a lot now we're doing more and more with smartphones. So people having access on their OIS systems or their Androids to, access family, to be able to, pay their bills online, to grocery shop online, to everything. So,
wow.
Yeah, we do it all.
Are there support groups for individuals with various eye conditions?
So there are. So we don't have any support groups per se through the Commission for the Blind, but there are a lot of community organizations that do a variety of support groups. A lot are run by consumers of ours, so we always like to refer back to the clients, because who better to run a group like this than somebody who's experiencing it themselves.
Yes.
I'm not visually impaired. I can talk all day about vision loss and legal blindness, but I'm not living it day in and day out, whereas some of the people who are running the support groups, that is the case for them. So it just changes the whole dynamic of the group. There's also another organization that we work closely with, and that's the Massachusetts Association for the Blind. So they're a private organization, and they do run a lot of support groups in the community through the senior centers or Council on Aging.
Okay.
And those will focus on low vision and blindness, but depending on what the need of the community is, they may focus on glaucoma or cataracts or macular degeneration, diabetic retinopathy, whatever the predominant loss is. So it's,
it's kind of funny, not funny, but I had cataract surgery last September, a year ago, and you never realize how important your sight is till it was like all of a sudden I got it back, and I said, wow, and I just can't relate, but I'm sure you guys doing a very, very, very important job for our seniors.
Yeah, we service all age groups, but the aging population is growing rapidly. So that's the over 65 folks are who we're serving mostly.
Is there anything else you'd like to add for me?
Sure. I'm going to share our mission and our vision, because they have recently been updated with the agency, and I think that they really portray the mission and what we're trying to get across. So our mission is to provide individualized training, education, and empowerment to people who are legally blind and advocate for inclusive policies across the Commonwealth with the goal of lifelong independence and full community participation. And with that, our vision, and I feel like this could really go for all residents in Massachusetts. All residents of the Commonwealth who are legally blind are empowered to live a fulfilling and independent life with opportunities to work and thrive.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So that is the heart of the services that we provide.
Oh, that is wonderful. Carrie, thank you for spending some time with me and letting us know what you guys do.
Yes, thank you. Well,
where can we reach you?
Sure. So we are lucky we still have a physical office here in Western Mass. So our physical location is 436 Dwight Street in Springfield. So it's across from the train station in the State Building. So we're there. A lot of staff do work virtually, and again, we're providing services to individuals in their homes. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the staff are out in the community.
Right.
So I would say don't necessarily stop in without calling first, because you might not get the person you want. But if you needed to reach us by phone, our office number is 413-781-1290.
Wonderful.
And there's a message machine where people can leave messages, but if you hit 0, you can get a live person between 8:45 and 5 p.m.
Wonderful. Again, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, thank you.
And we hope you enjoy the senior options.
I am. This is wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks again.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I want to extend my gratitude to both Kathy Millis, who did the interview. Kathy, again, is the treasurer and clerk of the Friends of the Westfield Senior Center. And Kathy does a tremendous amount of volunteer work for us in pretty much all capacities. She's one of our go-to folks.
Yep.
So I want to thank Kathy for that, and to Carrie Davidson Bravman, who is the regional director in this area for the Mass Commission for the Blind. I think Carrie did an outstanding job, and I like to think, I had something to do with a little piece of her education in there with her undergraduate college degree from Springfield College in the rehab department. So great information there from Carrie. So let me do a few announcements.
You might as well go right to the end at this point.
That's exactly, and that is how I have it mapped out on my little outline here, Pete. That's exactly what we're going to do, because I do have some announcements. We have a lot going on this weekend that I just wanted to just kind of remind folks over the next couple minutes. First of all, tomorrow is the last day of this season's Farmers Market outdoors at the Church of the Atonement. They are wrapping it up for the season, so between noon and 5 p.m. And I think that we're supposed to have nice weather tomorrow, so a little chilly, but, that's okay. It's fall. So Farmers Market, Church of the Atonement, and I want to thank all of those people at the Farmers Market for, bringing this service to the community. This has been going on since June, so we've had, June, July, August, September, almost 5 months. I mean, they're getting to the point where it's almost a half a year now.
Yeah.
So kudos to all of the folks at the Farmers Market, and you have one more shot, people. Go out there and buy all you have all your fall stuff to buy now. I also want to remind people that the Athenaeum, the Friends of the Westfield Athenaeum, is doing a fundraiser this Friday, October 18th. They're doing dinner and a show. The doors open at 6. Dinner's at 6:30 with a show to follow. It's at St. John's Lutheran Church, which is right at 60 Broad Street. It's called An Accidental Wedding. It was written and directed by Steve Henderson, a local thespian here in Westfield. And Steve actually started the senior theater group over at the Senior Center, so he's great. The tickets are $20. You can purchase by the QR code, and I have that. I have this flyer up at the Senior Center, or you can purchase them at the Athenaeum. So that's happening tomorrow night. Saturday, it's Pumpkin Fest time. We are getting very excited in the Gorman household. We're going to bring Charlie to her first Pumpkin Fest. So Grace is super excited. Grace has been checking the weather every day. It's supposed to be absolutely gorgeous.
That's what Bob said
on
yesterday,
Saturday.
Yeah.
It is absolutely going to be fabulous. I don't know who's more excited about this. I mean, Grace is just beyond excited. She can't wait for Pumpkin Fest. So that'll be great. It's going on from 11 to 3 in the fields behind the Amelia Park Children's Museum. The same day, Saturday, so you can do both of these things. And I'm really hoping that Grace and Charlie and I can get to both Pumpkin Fest. And then the Arbors is doing their frightfully early holiday market. Theirs goes from 10 to 2. Pumpkin Fest goes from 11 to 3. So you can always go over to the marketplace before Pumpkin Fest even gets started and, do a little holiday buying over there and then jump over to Pumpkin Fest. It's outdoor day, no doubt about it.
I think the Southwick Farm Parade is that
yes,
day too.
It is because I saw that was in the Westfield News today.
Kenny's going to be busy on Saturday.
Yeah, it's just one of those days. But thankfully, we are so lucky that the weather's going to be great and warm too. It's not only going to be beautiful but warming. I also want to remind folks that next Wednesday, a week from today, we are sadly having our retirement open house for Mary Lou Najalski. Our program director, Mary Lou Najalski, will be retiring at the end of the month. It's not something that I talk about very much because I get a little misty-eyed.
Yeah.
Mary Lou and I have worked together pretty much almost. She came on board. I hired her about 4 months after we opened the new senior center, and we have worked together closely ever since, and I am going to really, really miss her. But we are doing an open house for her next Wednesday, October 23rd from 9 to 10:30. Just come on by. There's no sign-ups. There's no charge. We'll have some light refreshments, and just please offer her a happy retirement. I'm sure we'll all be, reminiscing with lots of great stories. I'm working on some picture boards for the event, so should be a lot of fun. And I think that about wraps it up for me. Everything Southwick is on next. I want to go out with a song by Rachel Platten. It's called Better Place. And this was actually used by a group of parents of children with Down syndrome because it is Down Syndrome Awareness Month. And they made this video. If you have the opportunity to see the video, it's really moving. But the song is lovely. It's by Rachel Platten. It's called Better Place. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM, radio for the Westfield masses, and WCPC Cable Channel 15. I will be back next week with Jen Jafune doing our Food for Thought segment. Right after this is Everything Southwick. I'll see you next week.
I'll tell the world, I'll sing the song. It's a better place since you came along. Since you came along, your touch is sunlight through the trees. Your kisses are the ocean breeze. Everything's alright when you're with me. And you're my favorite thing. Oh, the love that you bring. Well, it feels like I've opened my eyes again, and the colors are golden and bright again. There's a song in my heart, I feel like I belong. It's a better place since you came along. It's a better place since you came along. I see the whole world in your eyes. It's like I've known you all my life. We just feel so right. So I pour my heart into your hands. It's like you really understand. You love the way I am. And you're my favorite thing. Oh, the happiness you bring. Well, it feels like I've opened my eyes again, and the colors are golden and bright again, and the sun paints the skies and the wind sings her song. It's a better place since you came along. It's a better place since you came Now I'm alright. Now I'm alright. Everything's alright. 'Cause it feels like I've opened my eyes again, and the colors are golden and bright. better place since you came along. It's a better place since you came along.